All right, now let's talk about setting up the console. So this is an SD8 from Digico. Every console is going to be a little bit different, but for our purposes, we're going to look at this one so you have an idea of how to do it for Sunday mornings. So the first thing we'll do is we'll grab the screen here with the screen assign button. And now we're looking at this left bank of faders or channels. And you can see at the top of each channel, we've got a gain value and the knob that goes with it. It does give you a meter, so if you have stuff coming in, you'll see it there on the level meter. We can also change the look of this layout slightly. So these top left buttons here, it's a rotary assign that actually changes the assignment of this knob here at the top. So if we hit down, it goes down to the digital trim, which is not quite the same as analog gain, and we could talk about the difference there. But if you go up one, it actually changes this into a larger meter, still with the gain value shown. So this is a really handy view, so you can see your levels a little bit better than on the really tiny meter. So that's it, just three different options here. The one we mainly want to be on is the gain, and then if we go up, we can see bigger meters, which is sometimes helpful. Then, if we actually want to change the input for a particular channel, we would tap on this top section for that channel, and it'll bring up this little setup dialog. So you can see we've got some choices here, whether this is a mono or a stereo or multi-channel. And then if it's mono, we can have both a main input and an alternate input. This is kind of a advanced or a extra feature of this console that many consoles don't have. And we can switch between those two inputs simply by tapping main or alternate. I don't have one assigned, so it won't let me tap it. Let me see if I have one over here. Here we go. So if I tap alternate, now we're using the other input. If I tap main, we're back to that one. It's not a huge thing, but it's handy in certain cases. So to assign an input, we're going to tap where it says main input, which brings up this window that gives you access to all the channels for the console. So rack 1 and rack 2 are going to be where all of our stage inputs are. Rack 1, it's going to start with channel 1, and you can see they're broken into groups of 8, so all the way through 48. Those correspond with 1 through 48 inputs on the stage. Then if I go to rack 2, you'll notice it's also labeled 1 through 48, but if I tap 1 through 8, now I'm going to see mic 49. So these groupings are just default for the console, but these names are names that we have given them. So this is actually input 49 on the stage, and it keeps going. I forget exactly how high, there we go. So we get all the way to 76, and now we get to some inputs that haven't been routed anywhere. So these are other inputs that we're not going to be using, so we're going to stay under 76. So you can see this one's highlighted blue because this one's already assigned to something. So this acoustic guitar is assigned to input or mic in 26, which is where it should be. So to change that, you would simply tap on another one. Now it might give you a warning, hey, this input is also being used by another channel, and you can decide whether that's something you need to deal with or not. So once you've chosen the input, then you've got a few other buttons here that you can use. You can close this if you want to get rid of it. This is a minus 20 dB pad, so if your input is really loud, you've turned the gain all the way down and it can't, you know, your level is still too much, you can engage this pad and it'll drop it by 20 dB. Then if it's a device that needs phantom or 48 volt power, that's what this button is for. So you can turn that on and off simply by tapping it. So for a J48, for instance, you need that to be on. But for something for JDI or an MD mic that's running through the panic button, you don't need that on, so you can turn that off there. If you're looking at a stereo input, like for instance here on the keys channel or keys 2 channel, you'll notice that the dialog looks a little bit different. So we're in stereo mode now. We go to main input and you'll notice that it's using 2 consecutive. So when you choose an input for a stereo channel, it's always going to choose the next channel that follows that. Sorry, next input that follows it. So tap here, I get 53 and 54. If I tap here, I get 52 and 53. In this case, I want it to be 3 and 4, so that's where I'm going to leave it. Last thing is adjusting the gain itself. So you can see there's a little red ring around this knob on the screen. That's because our rotary assign over here is selected on that red one. It's also highlighted. It's a little more pink than dark red. And so then when I turn this knob, you'll see the gain value change. And that is how we adjust gain on the SD8.